Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eat, Sleep, List. I'm your host, Matt Johnson, and for today, Mirror List Monday, we're going to be discussing birthdays and taking a look back at our lives through the years. That's right, we're going to be making a Years of Our Lives list. Let's get to work. So this upcoming week, I will be celebrating my 34th birthday, and birthdays are always a weird time for me. I actually have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the concept of birthdays, and I've lightly touched on it over the many months that we've been doing this show, but I think I'm going to go into a little bit more detail today. I'm going to try and not get too pessimistic, but this is my way of expressing myself and my perspective. Every year for my birthday, I get weird. I get in a weird emotional state. I get super protective over my mental health and like those walls that I mentioned that I put up for my own protection throughout the year, they seem to get extra reinforced around my birthday. Maybe I'm looking too deep at it, but I've had rough experiences with birthdays and again, another hippie term here, but the energy around birthdays. Again, a lot of weird experiences, and here's how I'll describe it. I remember actually the first cracks of me kind of being like, about birthdays was my 18th birthday. I was in high school and graduating as a senior, and I had a really peculiar day. It was very interesting. People unknowingly interacted with me in a kind of a condescending light, a not great light. And then it was kind of like felt extra harsh at certain points in times. But then upon realization that that day was my birthday, the mood changed. The mood was a little bit more positive. It switched up in a second. And it set something off inside of me. Because again, maybe I'm looking too deep, but shouldn't we just treat each other good all the time? Why does me having to announce that my birthday is here? It is my birthday, for you to treat me with a little bit more respect and a positive light. And since that 18th birthday, my perspective on the concept of my own birthday. I'm excited for other people's birthdays. I will make them feel as good as I possibly can with well wishes and whatnot. But when it comes to my own birthday, I'm very guarded and protective of who I allow to be a part of it. Because I had a teacher that was getting on my case about something that day and gave me an extra hard time, and there was classmates, again, it's just harsh, brutal people. I do not look forward to passing through in grocery stores and whatnot, and yeah, as soon as I said, hey, like it's my birthday, they're like, oh my bad, happy birthday, Matt. And it's infuriating to me. It's infuriating to me. I try my best, even though as flawed as I am, to be kind always. All right, I feel like, and this goes for holidays with myself too, that I would rather be treated good all year round instead of 364 rough days and one day that we're going to put on brave faces and emotions and whatnot to make people feel special. It sucks. I hate that I've come to this conclusion about my birthday and so on and so forth, but it's just kind of the way my life is shaped up. Social media, for many years and even to this day, I used to disappear on social media on my birthday because I didn't want a bunch of empty feeling, well wishes. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, my 18th birthday is kind of led, that everything that transpired with that kind of led to that. You get happy birthday wishes and you feel good. People make you feel good who make your life sometimes hell for 364 days out of the year, but they make you feel so important on that one. And there's like this false sense of security that goes on in your mind. This idea that, hey, okay, things are going to get good. Like my life isn't going to be so, my life interactions with this person are going to get so much better. And they never do. It's a false sense of hope. And that's why I shut down. I completely shut down around my birthday. And the people that I really let in, that I have let in when it comes to birthday well wishes are people who know me on a personal level, people who don't need a social media reminder to tell them it's my birthday. It's just the way I am. It's an earned pessimism, all right? Because there was a time in my life where I loved my birthday. I loved waking up. I was so excited, so just passionate about my birthday and turning another year. And the world kind of let me down in that regard. So it is what it is. But I have had great birthdays. I have been fortunate enough to celebrate birthdays with great people. We're going to talk about them today. I'm actually going to rank. The ranking list for this week is going to be the top 10 years of my life, but there is going to be a bit of an emphasis on those birthday celebrations, which are so special to me. When they're great, they're very, very special, meaningful to me. But yeah, this is the you're really getting an inside view of how my mind operates and on a daily basis, especially when it comes to this birthday episode. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to have such wonderful people to spend my birthday with. There have been people that have come through birthday gatherings where open invite and some people that you wouldn't necessarily expect to show up have pulled up. And it's really good feeling that, when you have something, when you're doing something that's special for you and you don't directly invite people, that people still just show up and are there for you. That's the good. That's, to me, is special. And of course, my family, they make me feel special every year. It's my best friends, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so very protective. Simply put, I'm very protective over my birthday. But I'm very, very grateful for those who make an effort and are good to me year round. All right, they don't need a special holiday or a reminder to treat me good or treat other people good for their birthdays. Those who genuinely make me feel special 365 days of the year, I thank you and I appreciate you. All right, the lessons from the list for this video. I think the most important thing that I can offer each and every single one of you is that when it comes to your birthday every single year, look back on your life, look back on the previous year, and pull lessons out to build a better future. That's basically the point of life, right? Fail over and over and over again and make mistakes and keep building a better future. I know every year for many years, I take a look back at how many times I really messed up. What were some of those heart-pounding moments that I dread thinking about, that I dread reflecting on? And I used to count them. I used to legit have like a ticker, or I legit write them down and what they were. And There were some really rough years in those stretches when I paid attention to that. But look back, be proud of what you have accomplished, be proud of what you have done, be proud of the good things, the efforts made, the progress that you have made as a person. Be proud of all of that, but also to look back at those failures, back at the parts of your life, or even at the very least the previous year, that challenged you, and use that to change and become a much better person. I know I've had a lot of reflecting to do this past year. We're going to talk a little bit about that. There were mistakes made, and there were some very, very tough moments for me over the last 365 days. But I'm grateful for those challenges, for those bad moments, for those regrets, because now they're in my focus as far as working on, or what do I need to work on to be a better person coming up for the next 365 days. I think the other thing too, as you see me now, right? You just listen to me whine about birthdays for 8.5 minutes. Okay, don't be like me. Don't have that perspective. I hope you see that. You see the pain that I feel when it comes to discussing birthdays, when it comes to birthdays, and I hope that you don't feel that way ever. I hope that you, the viewer, the listener, the watcher, I guess watcher and viewer is kind of the same thing, but I hope you take that and run with it and just let love in and embrace your birthday. Do something special for your birthday. Surround yourself with the best people for your birthday. And instead of putting guards and walls up, let them down. Break them down and just let love in, and just really embrace your birthday and how it should make you feel. All right, here we go. My top 10 years of life. All right, these are the best 10 years out of my 34 complete years of existence, and it was actually a little bit easier to compile this list than I would have thought. There were a couple years that I was like, how do I shoehorn this into this list? But I'm very confident and happy with the 10 years that I have put together. And I don't know if there's, outside of maybe 2 or 3 of them, I think it's a pretty loose list as far as, what works. I think my top 3 are most definitely the best 3 of this list. Everything else is kind of wherever. I'm mentioning it because I'm mentioning it. Well, let's start off with my number 10. And this was just that 18th birthday year that I was referring to. 2009 was the completion of my senior year. And a lot of great happened in like that first 6 months of that year. A lot of great stuff. Wrestling. I've talked about my high school wrestling tenure, and it was a great home stretch for me. Winning, just being as successful as I was in high school wrestling, winning a class championship, winning a Section 6 championship. Section 6 is Western New York, for those who don't know, and placing 6th in New York State. I achieved this athletic peak that I never would have dreamed of 4 years prior when I entered into high school. I don't think I could have ever imagined how far I would have went. I did track and field that year too, which was really cool. I wanted a nice cool down sport, and I did through shot put and discus, and I was actually really neat. For a couple years, I held down the shot and discus school record, not the city, but the school record, which was a pretty cool accomplishment for somebody who's never really done it before. So that was something to put my pat myself on the back for. Also, I did a fun little thing for my media productions class my senior year. It was the Summit Mall rap video, all right, which got me a lot of clout for about 3 months. It was really nice. It was really fun. Me and a high school buddy of mine, we used to call him Spaz, but his name was Sean. We decided to go and record a rap video at a local mall. And I've mentioned this before. The mall was closing, and we did a remix to Dead and Gone, which is a Justin Timberlake song. I forget who else was in it. But what a fantastic senior year. It was the peak of my friendship with my high school buds, Billy, Eric, and Justin. And things would unfortunately change after that, growing apart, going to college, and just life taking us our separate ways. But I've always found myself, no matter how difficult that 2009, that 18th birthday was, which we did have a great camp out party in my backyard afterwards. I had a lot of great friends, but that specific 18th birthday day where people gave me hell until I had to be like, yo, it's my birthday. Can you just kind of back off? I always find myself yearning to get back to that kind of comfortability in life. Always. There was such comfort in my senior year of knowing where I was going every day, minimal responsibilities. Yes, I had a job and whatnot, but schoolwork, that was my job. Wrestling, it was a lifestyle for me, and my friends were everything. But I've always found myself yearning to get back to that feeling and comfortability that I had in 2009. Because after that, while there are a lot of lists or a lot of years on my list that are afterwards, there was a very, very long stretch of, let's just say, life that was very, very challenging. And I think I earned the term super senior the couple years after that, still walking around with my high school varsity jacket. But regardless, 2009 is my number 10. Number 9 is 2005. It was my 14th birthday that year. Now, 2005 was a relatively decent year. I got out of middle school, which was a victory in itself because I was definitely not my best version of myself then. I hated middle school. I did. I hated the people I went to school with. They were, some of them, I shouldn't say hated the people. I hated most of the people I went to school with. And I know it sounds harsh, but I've stated before, it was not my greatest group of friends in that time period, not great influences. I was not a great version of myself. I put on a front, but for a lot of people, I remember when I got a little embarrassing story. I was wearing a South Park shirt, all right, with all the characters on it, and I had never watched South Park in my life. And the first day that I wore this shirt into a class, I got called out. So I couldn't wait for middle school to be over. But on the plus side, in September, going into high school, my freshman year, it was a really nice year. I had a great homeroom, great team. What was our? I can't remember what our because we had they did the Hogwarts thing where we had 4 different teams or rooms or whatever, something with a V. But I had a really great 9th grade year. I met a lot of great people, new people who became some of my best friends throughout my high school tenure. What else happened in 2005? Star Wars Episode 3 came out. That was a pretty cool thing. And obviously that's not a personal accomplishment or anything, but I have talked at great lengths about how much I love that movie. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, I went to go see the 20th anniversary re-release for it, and because it's legitimately my favorite movie of all time. And that coming out, I what else? That birthday, I forget, I think we went to go see Revenge of the Sith. And I remember as birthday gifts for my parents, I got a new CD player. I got the Star Wars Episode 3 video game, which was actually really, really underrated. And John Cena's CD, which also is celebrating its 20th anniversary. All right, for those who have been following the show, you know how much of a wrestling fan I am, pro wrestling fan that I am. And that CD was awesome. at that time. That was the expanse of my music. But number 9, 2005. My number 8. We're going to go back to 1999. Now, I wanted to include a lot more 90s years for this, but despite having plentiful access to video and pictures, not a lot like special happened. I mean, yes, I was born in 91 and whatnot, but like everything was just so like even keel and just chill that I can't pick. It's hard for me to pick out standout years prior. Within the 90s decade, but 1999 is an important one because for me, it is the year when my family, my immediate family, became whole. For 8 years of my life, it was my dad, my mom, myself, and my sister. But in 1999, in June 15th to be exact, my brother was born. The long prayed for little brother that I had always wanted, and he was born. And man, like I'll never forget the phone call that like I talking to my mom on the phone, and because I don't know if they knew beforehand or played like they didn't know, or they legit waited because my parents, from what I understood, had no problem waiting to find out what we are until we came out. If they legit found out that my brother was there, that he was a boy. So our family was whole in 1999, and I loved being a big brother, and I screwed up a lot being a big brother, but I loved being a big brother. We're going to talk a little bit about that for Friday's episode. Some stuff from reasons why I loved being a big brother, but I think 99 too was like a peak year for me when it came to childhood friends. All right, like I've discussed like different eras of friends that I've had, and 1999 kind of into 2000, that was like my peak childhood friend era. It was really good. Also, growing up, finding inspiration and love in pop culture, Pokemon and Digimon kind of entered my lexicon here. I know they'd been around for a little while, but I became obsessed with that. And also a game that means a lot to me, one of my favorite games of all time, Final Fantasy VIII, came out in 1999 as well. To me, Final Fantasy VIII is the equivalent, means to me what Star Wars Episode 3 meant to me as a movie. So there's that. So that's my number 8. All right, my number 7. This one might take some people a little aback, but I am proud that I can look back and I made the most of 2020. I'm proud of that. 2020 was not an easy year for people. It was quite difficult, and I think unless you were living under a rock, realize what 2020 was. It was terrifying. It was uneasy, stressful, and a lot of different emotions. And I know a lot of people did not have great 2020s, but I am proud that I can look back and say with respect to the climate of the world, that I lived a pretty good life in 2020, that I made the most of my time. 2020, I turned 29 years old. All right. And for me, this is really, I had been dating my then wife for quite some time at that point. We've been together. We were celebrating a year of marriage in 2020, but being home in lockdown was probably like some of the best times we had together, because it was us. Yeah, of course, our family would come through, and we still interacted pretty regularly within reason, but it was just us. It was really the closest that me and my wife had ever been at that point, I would dare so say. And we spent so much time watching movies, catching up on television shows, and I don't take that lightly. Like, I'm actually really as crappy as that year was, I'm grateful that is something I could take away from it. The other stuff, my podcast studio was founded in 2020. In fact, March of 2020, we discovered our podcast studio on Craigslist, my former one that I referred to all the time. We called it the Podcast Precinct. And in March of 2020, we moved in, we rented it, and it became my home for 5 years or so. Just about 5 years. In fact, just this past January, end of December, that's when we lost it. But it was my home away from home for many, many years, and I'm glad that everything kind of worked out to it. But I really took great strides in podcasting and building a podcast family in 2020. And also, too, as a Colts fan, having Phillip Rivers on the Colts team was really cool, insanely cool for me. I was so excited when that announcement was made that he got to be it, and I did end up going to see him play in Cleveland. It was not a great game for the Colts, but I did get to see him play live once in a Colts uniform, so that was pretty cool. So that is my number 7. My number 6 is the year 2002, and this was my 11th birthday. This was the end of my 5th grade year, and 5th grade for me was a very special year. I actually have very fond memories of the end of my run in elementary school. It was the last time I took school field trips, so that's a plus. Did not take a single field trip in middle school or in high school, and I don't know why. I don't know why it came to that, but I do vividly remember this. This was one of my last birthday gatherings, like parents throwing me a birthday gathering. I would have one more just a year later, but this one was special. On my birthday, we went to go see Spider-Man, and the original, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. We went to go see that on my birthday, and then we did, for my friends group, I picked like 6 or 7 friends, and my dad took us all to the movies to go watch Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones, another one movie that I'm very, very fond of, and we went to go see that and had a cake, and everybody hung out at my house for my birthday party, which is really cool. Also in 2002, I just talked about this last week on the vacation list. That was my 2-week Orlando trip with Disney, SeaWorld, and Universal Studios at the time. Graduated 5th grade, and also too, as much as I hated middle school, kind of going into it was not the worst thing. I mean, I didn't like being a bus kid for the first time in my life, but overall, I got to say, 2002 was a really, really good year. All right, my number 5 was actually mostly a pretty crap year. All right, it was actually mostly pretty bad. I want to focus on the positive things, so I'm going to. But I have to really sell this, right? I got to show you the darkness before I can show you the light, so to speak. So 2024, it was my 33rd birthday, obviously just this past year, and it was hard. It was hard. It started off great, ended terribly. There was a lot of rough things throughout the year, rough moments and occasions. I felt like I had lost a lot of the things that I had gained in the previous year. And we're going to talk about the previous year because it is on this list as one of the best ones. But I worked my tail off to get myself in a great frame of mind and whatnot. And 2024, I felt like I just lost all of it. I lost a balanced and positive kind of perspective. And there were some other instances too, like at the end of the year, using the last half of my family leave. I was looking forward to this great 6-week stretch where I get to just spend time with me, my son, and my dog. My poor wife had to slave away making Christmas cookies, but I was looking forward to this. And within the first week of it all, my dog passes away of 10 years. And that wasn't even the end of it. It just got continually worse and worse and worse. Not getting a family leave paycheck until the Monday before Christmas after you've been off for 3 or 4 weeks is insane. And then when you inquire about it, they're just like, "Oops, sorry." It was bad. And then halfway through the year, I made a decision to close the podcast studio. There had been 2 incidents in one day that set me off, and it was just a long time coming, but I lost so much in 2024. But the only reason why it is in this top 10 list and not one of the worst years of my life is because of the birth of my son, Bennett. And it is crazy that his existence into this world, his coming into this world, can do that, can have him in the top 5 years of my life. But he has changed my life for the better. I want to be better for him. I want to be the best version of myself for him. I'm so grateful for that and all the love and support that everybody's kind of given for my family, and for my son, most importantly. I cannot wait. Like, I'm loving life. I'm loving the dad life, and it is, I'm so grateful. So, that's the only really good thing with 2024 was the birth of my kid, but a lot of everything else, not great. Nah, not a great year, but the birth of Bennett is the most important thing, and that's my number 5. Number 4 is 2019. 2019 was a really, really great year for myself, and it felt like, to kind of looking back, like a last year of normalcy before everything kind of changed after the 2020 COVID pandemic. But I got married in January and got to go on a great honeymoon, a honeymoon vacation that I mentioned on my vacations list as just being me and my wife, and it was really great to have that. Started doing wrestling commentary. I'd gotten out of professional wrestling probably several years before, but I was still kind of in the loop. I was close with a lot of people. So I got to do pro wrestling commentary, though, and it was a unique change of pace. It was a lot of fun. I had a great co-host or co-commentator, to be with me, and I had a lot of fun calling wrestling matches and for all the Empire State Wrestling events. Go check them out; they're still going strong. But there was that. 2019, I had a couple great vacations that year. So I had the honeymoon. I also had a trip to Indianapolis, my second trip with Indianapolis. And actually, I was supposed to go with one friend, and then about a week before, the plans changed. And I'm going to go more in depth with this, but with a week until we left, I go, "Hey, Dad, can we go? Do you want to go to Indy?" And he goes, "Yeah, let's do this thing." I'll emphasize that more with the Father's Day list when we get to that point. But going to Indianapolis a second time, just me and my dad, and it was awesome. That was October, and I got to see the Colts beat the Texans that year. Jacoby Brissett kind of coming in and being that dude. And also that was the Gettysburg Hershey Park trip that year as well, September. So I had 3 vacations that year. Really, really great year. So that's my number 4. Number 3 is 2013, and that was my 22nd birthday. And the year started off rough. I've talked about my previous relationship and everything that has gone down with it. The beginning of the year, that's what happened, but the year ended up finishing very, very strong. Very, very, like, looking back, just uber stoked about how 2013 panned out. I moved back home in April or May of the year. I finished out the school year, and I just moved back home, and that was always nice. After being away from home for so long, it was kind of refreshing to come back and be surrounded by a lot of great people, a lot of friends that I hadn't really seen much over the years, and it was nice. Also, I started dating my now wife in 2013, at the end of the year, October, in fact. So that was a really nice, we had known each other for so long. In fact, we had met our senior year, sat next to each other in homeroom, basically, and I never talked to her because I was just such a bit of a tool, a bit of a douchebag, I guess. I don't know. But that was a good, we started dating in 2013. And also, it was my best year as a professional wrestler. I had never been busier. This is when I got to do WWE extra work. I got to go behind the scenes for a Battleground in Buffalo, Monday Night Raw in Pittsburgh, and SmackDown, going to Columbus, Ohio and doing SmackDown. So that was great. So 2013, that is my number 3. My number 2 was my 27th birthday year, 2018. I had things were just firing on all cylinders in 2018. All right. First and foremost, I got to work with my dad that year. It was the first time I got to. Well, no, it wasn't the first time, but I got hooked up at a really great job doing asbestos removal for a company that my dad, through the union we were working for, was running work. And we had a great group of people there, and that was the only time as a laborer that I loved going into work every day. And there was a stretch we were doing 410s, Monday through Thursday, and then having Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And it was so good. It was so good. Let's see. What else? Oh, me and the wife moved in together, finally. We had been engaged since November of 2017, but we were like, you know what? We can't get married and go back and live with our parents. We moved in together, had a really great apartment in a fantastic neighborhood, and that was an experience, kind of moving in and getting assimilated. 2018 was also a lot of other, good things too. I started podcasting in 2018, setting me on the road to this life, this YouTube show, and all the incredible people that I know to this day through podcasting. It's been such a huge help for me in coming out of a shell, I guess, but being able to express myself therapeutically. And a couple more things, this was the year of my first trip to Indianapolis. I've talked about that too, plenty of times on the show. That was amazing. And also Avengers Infinity War came out that year too, which was great. The anticipation was very, very high for that film. So that is my number 2, 2018, and my number 1 best year. I had already lightly touched on it, but 2023. My 32nd birthday. Let's take a look. There's so much stuff that I can really look back on, but let's go. Let's just power through this. All right. My last weight loss. I went from 347 pounds to about 252, 253. And this is why 2024 hurt so bad, because all the stuff that had been going on, I put most of the weight back on. I completed my book challenge in 2023. Well, it wasn't a challenge, but I read the 46 books in a year, which was outstanding and a lot of fun. Went down to Tennessee on a great vacation. Didn't quite make my top 10 because there was food poisoning on the first day we're there, and it threw me off for 3 days. But going down to Tennessee with my family, last really big... kind of the last the last long vacation that I've really taken. It was my most recent Indianapolis trip, where I went down with myself, my dad, my Uncle Rich, my buddy Tank, my buddy Jack, my buddy Brandon, and my other buddy Dickie. We call him Dickie. And we all went to Indianapolis, with 3 of the 4 seeing Indy for the first time in their lives. And we had a lot of fun that trip. And let's see, what else? It's quite a laundry list of things, how good 2023 was. I found out that I was going to be a dad in July of that year, and it was scary at first. I still remember the day we found out. My wife was stressing. Boy, that was a big DoorDash order to make her feel good. But I found out I was going to be a dad, and that was euphoric enough as it is. Best financial year I've ever had. This is when I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and I was walking with such comfort, on a day-to-day basis, because I was earning, so much. I was earning quite a bit of money, and also I had a nice philosophical change on podcasting. 2022 the end of it, I kind of had a bit of a meltdown. I kind of, I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And then in 2023, I realized that I needed to start doing it because I loved it again, not for numbers and clicks and all that stuff. So I guess it's kind of like a minor. It doesn't really. I guess it kind of helps. In the long run, it kind of led me to this. But 2023, the best year of my life. And there it is, everybody. My top 10 years of life. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you maybe learned something, took something away from this episode. Maybe can think about some of the best years of your life and really, hold on to those memories tight. And then if you look back on some of those rough years or those rough stretches of years, then you can learn from those moments and grow as a human being to be a much better version of yourself. Well, there it is. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday for a Fun List Friday. Got a fun one. Imagine that. We got a pretty fun one for you all to consume. So, but we'll talk to you then. Thank you so much. And till next time, do you even list?